The tensions between the East and the West are increasing to levels we really haven't experienced since the Cold War. And who would have thought that Ukraine, of all places, would be the place to trigger another global conflict? A conflict with the potential to go nuclear. So in this video, I wanted to share with you 5 countries where you and I we can hide in case World War III is going to explode. You see, when I was just a little one, I was truly fascinated by various future prophecies, like the ones of NOstradamus, vanga, and Alois Irlmaier. As I grew older, I did not pay any more real significant attention to the fortune tellers, or in this case, exact the opposite, end of the world prophecies. Having said that, I do believe that it triggered my geopolitical interest, which undeniably has played a big part in who I am today. But first of all, I want to welcome you to Crypto Never Sleeps, and in case you are new to this channel, well, then please hit like, smash, subscribe, so that you can be notified every time we upload new videos, so that I can protect, preserve, and ultimately increase your wealth. My name is Nico Arachi, and I'm the host of this little show. Now, some government agencies and private organizations are running simulations trying to determine the course a nuclear war might most likely take. Now, in case ever a nuclear war would occur, where would it actually be safe to live? So all these safe havens that we're going to go through today tend to be either in the mountains, blessed with snow and cold and dark weather, or geographically isolated and in the middle of the ocean. Obviously, there are many more, but since I'm also myself on the, let's say, on the lookout to find a new destination where I could actually weather a storm like the Third World War. So probably this is going to be one video of many, because I would also like to hear your insight. And some of these countries I haven't been to, so, please educate me if anything I say here is wrong. The countries I have been to, well, then I should be on top of it. Anyway, the first one is New Zealand. I guess that comes as no surprise. New Zealand, which is a secluded and prosperous island nation. Countries in the southern hemisphere are believed to be safer in the event of nuclear war, simply because the powers of the world's nuclear are concentrated on the north. They also have no nuclear arms themselves, and it is so far from everywhere that actually probably nobody will really benefit, and perhaps everybody's seeing New Zealand as kind of like a secret place where everyone would want to go in case of a nuclear war. And after World War II, New Zealand has set its course for a peaceful and coherent society. So as far as I can gather, and I've never been there, but I really look forward to going there, New Zealand has kept a peaceful and very, very relaxed political stand. However, they're still a part of the British Commonwealth, NATO membership, very close ties to the US, which, let's say, makes New Zealand a pretty safe place to be. Number 2, and that came a little bit as a surprise to myself, South Africa. According to my brief research, is that this nation doesn't have many international political problems. Well, what do you say besides apartheid, but that really is in the past. So in fact, South Africa is the only country who have built and destroyed its own nuclear collection. Also, as you might know, English is commonly spoken there, and people should be almost just as welcoming as in New Zealand. It looks like today we're only going through countries where I myself really haven't been. So let me hear about number 3, French Polynesia. French Polynesia is a pretty and very sustainable place with more than 400 islands. Well, there you can really spread out. Now, they are so scattered and far from the shore that the water would sink nuclear fallout before it drifts onto the trade winds. I don't know about that. I looked up French Polynesia, obviously. Does seem to be a nice place, a very little place. But let me know what you think. And in the end, I'm going to run you through some of the economic figures. Number 4 is actually 2, and they are former nations or former countries that used to belong to the country I come from. I'm from Denmark. We're not talking about Denmark. In fact, we're talking about Iceland and Greenland. Both 2 cold, lonely islands. However, I've been to Iceland many times, and I know that place. Now, that is an expensive place, and it is cold, but it is truly inhabited by peace-loving, Scandinavians, Vikings, who have no threat, or who are no threat to anyone except in football, right? Almost became European champions, I think, last time. However, Iceland doesn't have a standing army, and it only has a population of 350,000 individuals, and is considered to be one of the most developed nations in the world when it comes to infrastructure. And furthermore, Iceland is also run entirely on renewable energy, so it's very, very good for mining. What is funny, however, Iceland has the smallest population of a NATO country, and it's the only member country with no standing army. Let's talk about Greenland. Now, I don't know if you knew, but Greenland used to belong to Denmark. And one thing is certain, Denmark wouldn't fare so well in a world war. And that is why I would not go back there. However, now Greenland is autonomous. It's an autonomous territory known as Greenland. And probably this very green land that is actually not green, but in fact much more white than Iceland, probably survive just as well as Iceland. As I just said, despite that it's called Greenland, it is actually, or consists 80% of ice. Now the population is just slightly over 50,000, and this is a very sad thing. The nation's suicide rate is very, very high. But at least with them being between the North Atlantic and the Arctic Oceans, they are so out of the way that the world war, any kind of nuclear war, probably would pass by Greenland, making, in fact, Greenland and Antarctica, who only has 4,000 people, the most safest places on this planet. I thought it would be funny just to do a few comparisons, and you can actually go into worlddata.info and then you can pull out actually data from each country. So I wanted to compare Iceland with New Zealand. I'm knowing that Iceland is very expensive, low crime rate. I know little about New Zealand, but anticipate, just from my point, my guess, that it would be cheaper, higher standard of living, and better weather. But let's go through it. Actually, it's a great source of information just to look at before, in case you haven't been there before. Obviously, we know Northern Europe is Iceland, Australia, New Zealand. What English is official language in New Zealand, Iceland, Icelandic, but I can tell you everybody speaks English there. Population 366,000 in Iceland and 5 million in New Zealand. So let's just go down here. Now, political stability, we have in Iceland 84, pretty high, and New Zealand almost 194. Wow. Now, climate, now remember the maximum is 100, so we can see climate in Iceland is only 7, in New Zealand it's 36. Here we go, cost of living. Well, New Zealand ranked number 29, and cost of living in Iceland is 37. So here would be, the higher the number goes, the more expensive it is. Popularity, well, clearly New Zealand wins here. But then, in the end of the day, it depends on what you prefer. Iceland is also a nice place. It got fresh air, fresh fish, but you gotta like the cold. So the last comparison is the French Polynesia with South Africa. And I also have to admit, I have not looked at this before, so it's kind of like also me, interesting for me. Now, obviously, the French Polynesia is very small, 4,000 square kilometer and 1.2 million South Africa. And now let's go down and see population. Only 280,000 in the French Polynesia. South Africa, almost 60 million. So that's a real big difference there, right? And what do we have? Here we don't have really about standard of living and costs. So I think it's the French Polynesian that doesn't have it. So why don't we go in and compare South Africa with New Zealand? And here we are. I also have to say, of today's 5 countries, these would probably be the ones that would be most appealing to me. So obviously, South Africa is much, much bigger, and their original language is Zulu, but I guess everybody there speaks English. Now, what do we have? The quality of life, that's interesting down here, right? So we have political stability, New Zealand 94 and South Africa 49, right? So that is here, clear winner New Zealand. Then we got health, well, 80 out of 100, very, South Africa, I guess, it's not the healthiest place to live. Climate, South Africa nearly 195 and New Zealand only 36. Then the cost of living seems that New Zealand is much more expensive than South Africa. Popularity wise, they're very close, 39 to 42. Let's look at the unemployment rate. Well, in South Africa, we got 29 unemployment. In New Zealand, almost none, 4.6. Which, let's see, corruption index, 88 in New Zealand, 44 in South Africa. So I guess if we are wealthy and healthy, probably New Zealand would be the place to be. So this was it from me today. I really want to know what you think, because I am really looking for a place to go, and it's, the world is big, right? And I have some of the facts wrong. I want to hear what you like or what you do not like, and so it's just more like let's say an initial video of finding the perfect place for us to be when the rest of the world is going to bomb each other down. Yeah.